Hey, it's Delphine with another tutorial. Today it's gonna be a little longer one because I'm gonna show you how to make this bass. Before we get into it, I wanted to talk about my new release, which is coming up on 24th of February this month. So click that link in the description. It's like 16 projects and I just wanted to make them available for everyone. If you like what I do, please follow me on Spotify. If you like these videos, you can hit that like and subscribe. And without further ado, let's look into this. This is a remix of a song called On a Mountain, which I really love, but I felt like it was missing a cool drop. So I'm working on this remix and I really wanted to dive deep into FM because it's what everybody's doing, but it's one of the more advanced stuff you can do. And most of the best basses consist of multiple layers. So if you look at the sound that I want to show you today, it consists of this layer and this layer. Let me just turn off the ducking and the soothe. I don't know, I just fucking love this bass. It's very emotional. So it consists of these two layers, the lows and the tops. So let me just show you the lows first. And the tops. So initially I started with only one layer and then I decided to split it into two because I just wanted to have more control over the sound. This one has a lot of post-processing, but it's not a rocket science. It's worse, it's music production. So this is what it sounds like on its own. Let me turn off the effects. So, it's actually not that difficult, but it took me a shit ton of time to figure out the right FM amount with this sync amount. I started with the square wave. I leave the random because it's a top layer, so it doesn't really matter if the phase changes every time. I've turned up the unison to 3. I've changed the detune and the blend a little. When I'm using the unison, I always try to have one voice in the middle, not two. Because if I turn this on 4, it's got like 2 voices in the middle, which are out of phase of each other. And when you put the bass in mono, it can create some issues. So I try to avoid that and just leave it at 3. The square wave is being modulated by this saw wave. This one is down 2 octaves, and this one is left at 0. I've turned the unison to 11, and it took me quite a long time to find the right value of the FM. So it's at 78 right now. I've got this LFO, which is modulating the pitch right here of both oscillators. So it creates like this pew sound at the beginning. And I actually got these 2 LFOs, which are modulating the detune of this oscillator. So this one is pretty fast and it's just moving. It's moving just a little. And this one is moving more, but it's slow. So you can see the dot, how it's moving. If I bypass those 2, it's very static, so it just creates some movement and makes the sound more interesting. And also, I've got this LFO number 4, which is modulating the sync. So when you're doing these type of basses, you just gotta play with these 2 knobs. And play with them a lot, try different combinations, and just listen to the sound. You can change the octave. I've also added the sub. Now distortion. Also, another reason why to have the sub there is because when you're distorting some lower frequencies, it can create some pleasant high end. But if you're distorting a sound which has no low frequencies, it doesn't usually sound that good. So it's better, if you're distorting the sound, it's better to have low end and then cut it off than to not have it in the first place. I've got some compression. It's just an OTT. I just put the gain up a lot and it's just smashing the sound and making it more aggressive. All right, so sounds pretty cool. Now let's look into the post-processing. So first, I've got a bandpass filter. You can see the automation. Let me just show it to you. It's right here. Yeah, I've got some delay and reverb here. So let me just turn it off. You need to play with this automation a lot and just make it exactly like you want to. This is one of the most important parts of the sound, as always. Next, I've got the Morph EQ. And you can hear what it's doing. It creates like a phaser effect. So you can recreate it with any other EQ, but I like to use the Morph EQ because it has these shift and morph knobs. It's just a peak, 2 dips, and boosted high end. And you're just making all these points move at the same time, at the same rate. With any other EQ, you'd have to make this automation 4 times. And with this one, I can just do 1. So that's why I use Morph EQ. It just saves a lot of time. So next, I've got the low-high linear split. I've already explained how to do this. I'll just put it right in the description, or I'll put it somewhere here in the video. So you can just click on it. And basically what it is just 2 EQs. One is low end, one is high end, and you're splitting the sound in 2. So you can just put the processing on one band and not on the other. The low end just has this EQ, which is cutting off at 70. So it's just a sub bass. And the top band, has some effects on it. So let's look at this one by one. So first effect is the trash. So I'm distorting the sound. I'm using the negative preset. I think I've turned the drive up a little, and that's it. This is what it sounds like without. And with. I'm placing all of the effects before the EQ, and that's because of what I told you before. You want to distort the sound when it has the low end on. So in the chain, these 3 effects are still affecting the full spectrum, and then the EQ is cutting off everything below 70 Hertz. All right, so this was the first distortion, and the second one is vinyl. You can just copy the settings. It really kind of destroys the sound, but I've got some post-processing to fix it later. I just really like the crunchiness of the vinyl distortion. And I've got some saturator. The VET is all the way down, almost. It's only at 11%, and the drive is pretty aggressive. So this is the distortion rack. Now, when I move forward, I've got another saturator, which is the wave shaper, and I've changed some settings here. If you click this arrow, it will show you these settings, and then you can mess with it. And last but not least, I've got the EQ, which is actually cutting off the low end. So, how I created the second part. I just duplicated everything, and then I made some changes. So, let me solo the lows. So this is what the low end sounds like without any effects. Basically, the only thing that I really changed, if I put them side by side, is this FM value. So right here, it's at 78, and here, it's at 9. And let me just turn the effects on one by one. So this is the bandpass filter. As you can see, the automation is exactly the same. Morph EQ, the same thing. Automation exactly like before. Oh, you can actually see it's the preset called Simmer Down. I don't know why it didn't show it in the first patch, but it doesn't really matter. Now, the linear split. I've turned off the vinyl distortion because yeah, it just destroys the sound too much. And I've got this saturator at the end. Exactly like before. And if you combine these two sounds together, they sound like this. So you can see I've got these two groups, lows and tops. I don't have anything in the lows group, but in the tops I've got some delay and some reverb. You can hear the beautiful stereo effect. I've also got this compressor. You can hear it's ducking the delay when the actual bass is playing. And I've got this bass group, which has just a clipper on it, just to be safe. Alright, and now you know how to make your own FM basses, hopefully. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're interested in my music, hit that link down below, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!